Now, what if I told you that an army brought a whole fortress down with nothing but a shout? A city that was sealed shut, and the gates were locked, and the walls were so high and so thick that you could run chariot races around them that had never been broken through. They were broken through with just a shout. And they had been unshaken for generations. And the armies feared this castle, this fortress. And no one ever dared challenge it. But then came a nation with no weapons and no ladders, and all they had was trumpets and silence. And so after 40 years in the wilderness, the children of Israel journeyed, and that journey was nearly over. They had crossed the Jordan River onto dry ground, Deuce, and their feet finally touched Canaan's soil. Joshua now led the people, and behind him stood a nation shaped by miracles and mercy. Ahead of him loomed a city like no other, Jericho. Its walls towered above the plains. It was a mighty fortress, heavily guarded and completely closed off because they feared no God. But this battle would not be won with swords. It wouldn't be won with strength, because the war for Jericho belonged to the Lord. Now, let's play.
Canaan, it was an unbreakable fortress. To Israel, it was the first test of promise. It stood as an intimidating obstacle on the path God had laid out for them, heavily guarded. Feared throughout the region, no one went out. No one came in. Jericho closed itself off, not because of Israel's weapons, but because of the God they served. But this battle would not be won with swords. It wouldn't be won with strength, because the war for Jericho belonged to the Lord. Before the people ever stepped foot into Canaan, Joshua had quietly sent 2 men ahead from their camp at Shittim to scout out the land, especially Jericho. The men crept through the darkened valleys and approached the great city quietly. As they entered Jericho, their path brought them to a modest house nestled into the city wall itself. The owner was Rahab, a woman known in Jericho, though not for noble reasons. She was a prostitute, living on the margins of society. But why Rahab? Why would God choose a prostitute, a woman so overlooked by society, to play a part in his plan? As his instrument? Rahab was no ordinary woman. Though her profession placed her outside respectability, she had heard the stories. Stories of a God who split the Red Sea, who provided manna from heaven, and who conquered mighty kings like Sihon and Og on the east of the Jordan. Her heart was stirred with awe and reverence. She believed that this God was unlike any other. That night, when the king of Jericho got word that Israelite spies had entered the city, he sent men to Rahab's home, demanding she hand them over. Rahab faced a choice. She could betray the strangers and save herself, or protect them and risk everything. With a courageous heart, she hid the spies on her roof under stalks of flax, and claiming that the men had already fled, she sent the king's soldiers on a wild chase outside the city. When the danger had passed, she climbed to the roof under the moonlight and spoke to the men.
I know that the Lord has given you this land. We are all afraid of you. Everyone in this country is living in terror, for we have heard how the Lord made a dry path for you through the Red Sea. We know what you did to Sihon and Og. The Lord your God is the supreme God of the heavens above and the earth below.
She then made a bold request.
Please swear to me by the Lord that you will be kind to me and my family when Jericho falls.
The spies, moved by her faith, agreed. They gave her a simple sign, a scarlet cord to tie on her window. They said to her,
"Hang this cord on the window facing the outside wall and gather your family inside your home. When the Lord delivers Jericho, no harm will come to you."
With that, Rahab helped them escape, lowering them down through a rope outside her window. The men fled into the hills, hiding for 3 days as Jericho remains.
Okay. So, what happened so far? Deuce.
They were running and hiding, and then the men told them to hide. Yes, put this rope on the window.
That's right. Put that rope on the window.
Hiding, and then they were hiding, and then he was gonna, and then there was like a big giant, and it was trying to take them down, but the little people took them down, and then the girl said, this is our place.
All right. Anything else? Yeah, Joshua had sent 2 spies to spy out Jericho and to take a look at it. And they looked at it, and Jericho was scared. And they had shut it up because they were scared of the Israelites who had they had gone and defeated big countries like whose kings were Og and Sihon, like that big giant, and had beaten them. And they were coming to Jericho to do the same thing. And they heard that Jericho, that Joshua had sent 2 spies, and they were looking for him. But the woman Rahab, she hid those spies, didn't she? And she let them down a rope, and she cut a deal with them. What was the deal she cut with them?
To keep her family safe.
Yes, she let them out down that rope so that they would promise to keep her family safe. That's exactly right. So I got a question for the kids. The Israelites, the spies told Rahab to hang a special red rope out her window so that her family would be safe. So kids, if you had to pick a secret color of a string to hang down your window so your friends knew it was your room, what color would it be?
Blue.
You would do blue? All right. Now I want to ask the...
Actually, rainbow.
Rainbow string? All right. I want to ask the adults. Rahab asked her life and her place in the city because she had heard of God's power and chose to believe. When you're facing your own impossible circumstance, how difficult is it to risk your current comfort or security for a promise from God that you haven't fully seen yet?
It's hard because you can't see it, but if you know the Word of God, for we walk by faith and not by sight, so you know that His Word is true and that it's going to always come, but you just have to be patient and wait on Him.
That's right.
Sealed tight. Then they returned to Joshua with one message.
The Lord has truly given all this land into your hands.
Now, as the Israelites stood on the other side of the Jordan, that old report from the spies echoed in Joshua's mind. Encouraged by their words, he began to prepare the people for battle. But what came next was not a traditional military strategy. There would be no ladders, no battering rams, no siege towers. Instead, God gave Joshua a most unusual instruction.
March around the city once every day for 6 days. Have 7 priests carry trumpets of ram's horns in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times, and then blow the trumpets. When you hear a long blast, have all the people shout with a mighty shout. Then the walls of the city will collapse.
It sounded absurd, childlike even. But Joshua knew God's ways were higher than man's understanding. So he gathered the people and shared the plan. The first day, the people of Israel assembled in quiet obedience and determination. Under the watchful eyes of Jericho's guards, they marched in perfect formation around the city's walls. At their forefront, 7 priests carried the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred symbol of God's presence among them. As the procession advanced, the only sound to pierce the heavy silence was the deep, haunting blast of 7 ram's horns, echoing like a divine call through the air. The guards peered from the city walls, puzzled by the strange procession. By the 2nd and 3rd days, the soldiers on the walls began to sneer and mock. Is this some childish ritual? No attack, no fight. What trick is this? But by the 5th and 6th days, laughter turned to unease. The endless circling, the silence except for the horns. It was no ordinary battle. The mood in Jericho changed. Markets emptied.
All right. So what's going on so far?
Me?
Yes.
So now there was a man that had a scratch on his head, and then they were all marching, and then they were like doing everything.
Okay, that's right.
And they had shows and stuff.
Anybody else?
Me.
They continued to march around it, and the men were the guards thought it was funny at first, but then as they continued, they got a little worried to say, what's really going on, because this is going on for so many days, and they haven't said anything, they haven't done anything. So what's really, what they really have to face sleeves.
Mm-hmm. Something. The Israelites had to march around the giant city without saying a single word for 6 whole days. How hard is it for you to stay completely quiet? Go back and sit down. How hard is it for you to stay completely quiet for a long time? And why do you think God asked them not to talk? How hard is that?
It's hard.
No.
It's hard to me because, being silent for a pretty long time is, not good for me, but, can't say why. Because I'm a talkative kid.
Mm-hmm.
I talk too much.
Well, why do you think God didn't want them to say anything?
I think he kept them quiet so they can hear him. And it's times that God, when we're praying and God tells us to just be quiet, and so we can hear his voice, because the word says, my sheep know my voice. So if you're doing all the talking and you can't hear what he has to say, so if you're quiet and get into a quiet place, then you can actually hear what he has to tell you in the direction he's going to lead you.
Yes, ma'am.
Daddy.
Yes.
When me and Deuce went to summer camp, my music teacher was Miss Brown. Not music teacher, the art teacher. My art teacher's name was Miss Brown at Liberty Creek, where we went for summer school. And the number 3 rule is listen to the speaker.
All right.
Windows closed. Fear